Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, and in this video, we're going to talk about some more scary news. In that it's unheard of. Tens of thousands of salmon are found dead in British Columbia, BC, in a creek as drought conditions persist. Now, this is a story that it's been covered a few places. This article is October 5th. That's Vancouver News. This is a British Columbia site. And this is October 5th, too. Salmon struggle to spawn amid record-setting drought with tens of thousands left dead in British Columbia. So, this is Strange Sounds. And they say that this is attack on the food and the ecosystem. The salmon are literally boiling to death. So while they're waiting for the streams to fill in British Columbia, so, with all the drought and everything that's out there, and all the attacks on the food processing plants that are going on out there, and I did a video last week about how the snow crab season in Alaska has been called off because there basically isn't any to fish. So this is just another catastrophe. This is a stream up in British Columbia where the salmon are going up to spawn, and then they're running into a dry creek bed, so they're all dying. I was up in British Columbia a couple years ago, and I saw the salmon swimming upstream to spawn. It was pretty cool. I was at a place. It was outside of a town called Nelson, which is a pretty cool town just over the border, and they had it was called a festival, where you could go out and you could watch the fish do their run. And when I first got there, literally, when I got to the stream, I didn't have my phone out or anything, but I turned to my left and there was literally a bear with a salmon in its mouth. And by the time I got my camera out, it was, the bear had turned around, so you couldn't see it anymore. But this happens every year. It happens even in Idaho. People tell me that the salmon come running up there into Idaho to spawn. But yeah, they say that there's two things that are, two sentiments. They're overwhelmed at the endless summer they're having, but then there's a growing sense of anxiety about nearly 3 months of no rain in British Columbia and how it's impacting things. So they say here that they knew the water levels had been low because we had such a dry end of the summer, but they were shocked to see how bad it is. And yeah, here is just a video of just one place in the HEILTSUK territory of just all of the dead salmon, just where they should be, swimming up the river to spawn. They are all just dying. And as the headline says, boiling, boiling to death. So this article here, the British Columbia News said that it is unheard of and that nobody that's living here in the community has ever seen anything like this before. They said they rely on the watershed for food, but they also said that they depend on the salmon, bears depend on the salmon, the forests depend on the salmon, and they said when the salmon go, the building blocks of our coastal ecosystem start to fall apart, which, right, is true. You take out one block in the puzzle and the whole thing can get offset. And then Alina Aziz of the Watershed Watch Salmon Society said, unfortunately, I think we're going to see this going to see more often as global warming continues at a pace that it's at. Now, we don't really know if this is global warming. Everything is always, of course, blamed on global warming and climate change. And most people fail to put into the equation Dane Wigington and geoengineering, which we know is a real thing. But now here's a third article. This was covered a lot of places. This is just a third article. British Columbia News, where the Heiltsuk Heiltsuk First Nation leader called it sad, which is, I think, an understatement. So this article says after 3 parched months, much of BC is experiencing drought, and ongoing hot weather has left streams running dry, leaving no way for some salmon to return to their spawning grounds, killing hundreds in a mass die-off on the Providence Central Coast. It said that the Pacific Salmon Commission initially projected a return of 9.8 million fish to the Fraser River this year. By August, that prediction was reduced to 5.5 million, and it was just readjusted again in September, on September 28th, to 6.8 million. So, that's about a third of a drop of what they were originally predicting. And how many of this 6.8 million that's coming to spawn are ending up in these mass die-offs here? And so on the Neekas, Neekas River, the number of salmon returning, which is about 25 kilometers north of Bella Bella. It said it's been declining for decades. In the 1970s, there was an average of 47,000, and in 2021, there was just 750, according to federal data from Fisheries and Oceans Canada. So, the numbers have been being reduced for decades. I mean, that's significant, from 47,000 to 750. But right now, all the ones that are coming aren't making it up to the top of the river where they actually do their spawning, which means that you're not going to be having, not only are these fish dying off, but you're not going to be having baby fish that then go out into the ocean and come back, I don't know, 5 years or so from now to spawn. I mean, these fish come in and spawn, they mate, they create new fish that go out to the ocean, and then years later they come back. So not only are these fish dying, but all the fish they're expected to reproduce will never be produced. So just in this one area, on October 7th, the Simon Fraser University researchers had added up about 65,000 dead pink salmon. And, I'm sure that's just in one area. That is not the total of all of the salmon that are being affected. So right here, a William Housty, he is down here saying that to see it kind of come to this magnitude is quite shocking. He said all of those salmon that are just kind of wasted away and didn't even have the opportunity to reproduce is just heartbreaking. It's sad to watch the wild salmon deteriorate right in front of our eyes. And he said that the full impact of the mass die-off of the fish won't be seen until about 2026, when the adult salmon spawn this year should be returning. Yeah, like I just said. So I guess it's 4 years for them to come back. He estimates hundreds of thousands of fish have been lost. And again, down here, they're blaming it, of course, on climate change. But now Canada, Justin Trudeau and their environmental minister I have many emails to them asking them to, help lead the world with actual real solutions that would create immediate betterment, which is light years better than what Trudeau's doing. He ended single use plastics, but just plastics, not all single use items, like I've been asking, and trying to do since November 93, but asking Justin for, I don't know, probably a couple of years now. Or, how about getting on hemp? How about getting individual cooperation, getting people environmentally illiterate so that they do cooperate? So, Canada right now, this isn't the only aspect that they're all, blaming things on climate change and global warming. And I'm sure these people in British Columbia aren't aware of their leadership and world leadership, not actually giving the world solutions, pretending like they're searching for them while they're actually suppressing them. But, if I came here to these people, would they do anything? I don't think so. We're going to do a year in review video pretty soon about all the people I've just asked this year. How about the Yellowstone superintendent who, they blame that huge flooding on global warming, but is he stepping up to the plate? When I presented him what needs to be done and how his concessionaires could do it, no, no. And Willie, no, no, as he's proven he hasn't in months. And so would these people actually get on board solutions or, petition Trudeau to actually lead the world in solutions that everyone else has refused to give the world, that, if this is true, that this is because of climate change, could have been prevented? So, as we say here, this is only the start of this catastrophe, because all of, the salmon that should have, been born this year due to the spawning and then returned years later, they're not going to be returning years later because they're not being born this year. So just more of an impact to, the ecosystems, as they say here, and the bears are going to be going hungry, and the people are going to be going hungry. People depend on this food to eat, and the rivers depend on, and all the natural systems depend on, these annual salmon runs. And right now, up in British Columbia, this is what a salmon run looks like. It isn't much of a run to the end at all. So stay tuned, people.